Okay, in our last video, I showed you how to install Visual Studio 2017 Community. Now, this time through, I want to give you some head starts on how to get going for CS2420. Your first assignment is due almost as the class starts, and it requires a dynamic array of transaction objects. Transactions will be things that you charge on your debit card, and you can go out to your ZyBook and figure out exactly what that is. I want to show you how would you code that up in Visual Studio. I won't show you the coding, obviously, because that's your job, but how do you at least get going? You can certainly write the entire project inside of ZyLab, but that is not a very good IDE, and it's time to start using a better tool. If you're doing it in ZyLab, you're really wasting time. Even the folks at ZyLab, I'm pretty sure, would agree with me that it's time to move on at this point and learn how to use an IDE like Visual Studio. So let's get going. I'm going to bring up my browser. And the first thing I'm going to bring up here is going to be my ZyLabs. Let's see if I don't have a shortcut for that. I think it was learn.zybooks.com. That looks like it. I guess I should have saved a shortcut to that spot. Hopefully, yep, he remembers my password. I'm going to go out here to the first project, P1 Dynamic Arrays, and here's our lab. And he's going to talk to you all about your dynamic array that you're going to have, and you need to read through this thing multiple times to get things going, and you'll figure out. But really, you're going to have, it looks like you're going to have some transactions. That'll be a class of itself called transaction. And then you're going to have a dynamic array, which will have a dynamic array of transactions. It should be quite fun. In any case, if we go down here, he's going to show you some desired output. Here's all of the files that are in this thing. Main, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 source code files plus a data.txt. You can see them all here. Here's my main.cpp. Notice how he's marked as read-only, which means that you cannot go out there and try to change it. The CPP file, that CPP file is locked for you. But if you go into the H files, so that's also marked as read-only. So that pretty much says, yes, you're going to have to implement every single one of these functions. And you're going to have a dynamic array of transactions, but that's inside my debit card. If I look at my dynamic array.h, here's all the things he's going to have. There's quite a bit that you're going to have to implement inside there. Whoops, sorry about that. But when we get to the CPP files, for instance, the debit card.cpp, you'll notice, oh, there's nothing inside of that one. The dynamic array.cpp, nothing inside of that one. That's what you're going to have to write. And of course, you could write them all right here if you wish. Notice that little thing down at the bottom lets you make this edit window bigger. But still, that's not the way you should do it. Here's what I would recommend. First thing, click on this download button. He will download all of the source files. I will click on that little arrow and say, yes, I want to, we can probably just say open and see what happens. I think he will show us this thing right here. Yep, there's all of the files. I am going to select them all, right click and say I want to, not cut, but I want to copy them. So they're in my paste buffer right now. Now I'm going to go out and start Visual Studio. We installed it in the last video. Hopefully that worked well for you. Now it's time to start using it. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say it is time for me to create a new empty C++ project. So there's my hello world that we did in our last video. I want to go down to the new projects and I want to make an empty project. I'll click on that. I'm going to say where do I want to store it, and I'm going to browse out to that spot that I made in the last video. I made a spot in my documents called coursework, and there's cs2420. I'm going to go into 2420. That's empty right now. I'll probably make a new folder called projects. And that is where I'm going to stick every one of my projects for 2420, just to give it some structure. So select that folder, and then out inside here, here's where I'll say, yes, this is project 1, and it's transactions or dynamic array or something so to remember what it is. and I'll create that. Now, once it's created that, it has not put any source code files into that at all. And we'll be able to tell that by looking at the Solution Explorer. When he's done, yeah, inside my source files folder, there's nothing. Inside of my header file, there's nothing. I've got to copy those files out there. So I'm going to go back over to, yep, here. I'm going to make sure, let's try it once more. I'm going to copy those into my copy buffer. Then I'm going to browse out to where I said I want to make my new project. Coursework, 2420 projects. There's my project one. Inside of here, that's what I called it. Remember, project one transaction. I'm going to go into that folder. And here, these three files, Visual Studio just created to create my empty project. Wherever I find this VCX proj file, or I guess they're all VCX project files, but no source files. This is where I want to copy them. Right click and say paste. They all get put out there. Good. However, you'll notice that there's nothing yet in the source file or in the header files folder. Well, just because you copy them to that one specific folder, Visual Studio still hasn't been told that those files belong to this project. We have to tell him that. So this is an important step. I'm going to select my project, project one transaction, right click on it, go down to the add, and I don't want to create new items. We did that with the Hello World project. I want to add existing items, files that already exist. And by default, he's going to come right up and say, well, which files do you want to add? And notice he gives me that same folder where I've pasted it, and here's all the stuff. So I just want to say, yeah, I'm going to take them all. I don't need to add those three. They're already in part of my project. Oh, and to get this, just hold the control key down as you click, and that will let you multiple select. Once I've selected all the ones I want, yeah, I suppose you could do this 8 different times, once for each file, but this is easiest. Just multiple select all of the CPP files, the H files, and I also select the data.txt input data file. And then I'm going to click on add. And he's smart enough to go out there and put all of the H files into the header files folder and all of the source files into this folder here. And then data.txt, he just left it out there. He said, I don't think that's anything, but there's the file if you wanted to ever look at it. So that's good. That gets them in there. So now if we try to go out there and build this project, build the solution, we're going to have a problem. He will compile, but he will not link. He's compiling all of his stuff, and I got all of these linker errors. I know that they're linker errors because it says LNK at the beginning. Unresolved external symbol, public, this call, debit card. Oh, there's my constructor for debit card, and that was referenced in main. What he's really saying there is that, hey, you promised me in your debit card.h that there was going to be a public constructor that took no parameters, and I want to use it, but you defined it, that you declared it there, but you never defined it. And that's probably true. If I go to my H file, yeah, here is where I declared it. I said, there will be one of these. But then if I go down into my debit.cpp, there isn't anything there. Well, that's because that's your job. Your job is to make that happen. Now, but at least you've got the file there now. So this is where you would start writing the stuff for all of the things which you have declared in your H file. So you're going to have a function for debit card destructor, deposit, post transaction, clear transaction, display activity. Those are not functions. Those are just variables. So you're fine right there. Notice there's another variable called transactions, which is of type dynamic array. Well, that gets defined in dynamic array. Again, you're going to have to go to dynamicarray.cpp and put all that stuff in there. You've got a lot of code to write still. However, I would recommend, I'm going to auto hide that, give myself a little more room. Initially going out to main.cpp, having all those bugs bothers me. So what I want to do out here, this inside of ZyBook is a read-only file. So eventually you're not going to be able to modify this. But inside of Visual Studio, I can modify it all I want. So what I'm probably going to do is say, okay, here's the problem. He's referencing a debit card there at line 54. And then he's using that debit card variable, debit card dot deposit right there to add a new account balance. He's doing a bunch of stuff with it. So I'm just going to comment it out for right now. I'm going to just select from there probably to the end of the file, and then I'm going to comment it out. In Visual Studio, right there, he says Control E C. There's my hotkey, or I can just click on that button. He just comments it out. Way better than deleting it because I'm going to want it back later on. But now that that's gone, all he's doing up here, let's see, this stuff here has to be there for unit testing. I think it talks about that in ZyLab. This is the format of the data. Here's my main. I've got a char, a C string called data.text. I'm going to make an input file stream. I'm going to open that file. If that thing worked, then I'm going to go into my commented out stuff and do almost nothing. But at least let's see if I can build it. Build solution. And he built. In fact, if I go, this is my output. If I go to my error list, he'll tell me, hey, there were 0 errors, 0 warnings. Well, that's good news. I can even put a breakpoint on this and single step through it. He's not going to do a whole lot, but he will do something. If I click on that, it should take me to main. And then, yep, I'm in main right now. He says debugging. I can see we got that little arrow there that says this is where I am. Those are my 4 buttons that tell me what I want to do. This one here shows the next statement in case I happen to be way down inside here someplace. I can click on that and he'll get me right back to where I'm going to go next. This one says step into. This one says step over. This is if I'm in my function and I'm done. I want to get back, step out of it. I'm going to just do this step over. I get into here. I can just keep clicking on that, and he opens some files. I can see if the file was good. It was good because I didn't go into the bad stuff, but I didn't really do anything. Well, at this point, I'll hit continue and he'll quit. I probably want to go back, and we were a bit hasty. It wasn't really hasty. It's always good to get something running at the very beginning and then just start building it up little at a time. So I'm going to go and uncomment everything that I had commented it. There we go. Control EU will do that, or just click on that button. But now I'm going to go back and very surgically remove certain things. So I know he doesn't know anything about a debit card yet. So, and notice how Visual Studio, he gives me a red squiggle every time there's a problem now. He says, I don't know anything about debit card. Well, that's good because I just commented him out up above. So I'm basically just going to get rid of everything that happens that deals with debit card at this point. And then he still should compile, and I should be able to run it and see if at least he's reading the file. So I still have my breakpoint right there. I'm going to just hit this part here. That should save my files, and it should go out there, rebuild the project, start running it. Whoops, it said I had some problems. So I do not want to keep going. What did I do? Oh, I must have missed something. He said that, hey, debit card is undefined. Line 114, I'll double click on that. Oh, look at that display activity. Yeah, I want to get rid of that guy. Try it again. He's going to build again for me, and if everything goes right, he is going to run. Much better. And now, yes, I can click on this step over, step over, step over. Notice how the hotkey for that one is F10. Get used to that one. Just hit the F10 key. It's a lot quicker. Now, look down here now. There's some cool stuff. He's going to, inside my autos, I can look at my local variables. I can also look at autos. The difference between locals and autos is with autos, he says, well, of all of your local variables, which ones do I think you care about reading? So autos is always a great place to start. So there's my data.text. Anytime a variable changes, he will highlight it for the next time, for the next command in red. So now I'm going to notice that the red goes away, but the file data comes back now. And this is good. If it is good, yep. Hey, should not be end of data. I'm going to extract from my file data a command, and a command is another string, which right now has got garbage in it. You can see the garbage right up here. That's what garbage looks like. Okay, now he's not garbage. Now he's got a B in there. And I'm going to put him into a case statement, which I love case statements. So notice down here, that command sub-0 has got a B in it, so he'll take the B case. And here's my new account balance, and he is going to extract from my file a new account balance. Well, let's single step over that. 423.44999999. Well, what is this that he's reading? Actually, in fact, let's get rid of that thing. I want to go back to my Solution Explorer. Let's look at the data.txt file. Hey, he's read, we just extracted that right there, the 423.45. You might say, well, but it says it's 423.44999999. Yes, remember from 1410 that floating point numbers are just approximations of the actual number. So he couldn't really store 423.45. This is as close as he could get, but that's good enough for our purposes. And there's my break, which puts me to the end of that loop. Now I'm going to go out and grab the next command. This one here is a D, so it goes down to case D. It looks like he's going to do a deposit. And you can single step through this whole thing. The next coolest one probably is going to be, I'm going to post a transaction. So inside of here, he's going to grab the ID number, which looks like it's 1. The date looks like it's August 13th. The amount, 850, looks like he got that one exactly. Then he's going to get the description and stick that into there. And then notice at that point, I should have called post transaction on my debit card object, but we have him commented out. We can go through this whole thing. When I get bored of this, I just really want to skip down to this line. If you hover there, see that little like a play button, click on that and it'll get you to that point. And then we can close the file and we're done. Okay, that's all I'm going to show you at this point. You're going to have to write the rest. I would recommend that you go out there and you probably start with some of the simpler ones. The transaction, probably that should come first. And then, see, the debit card has a dynamic array inside of it, so probably dynamic array next. And then at the very end, go back to debit card. And on the debit card, you don't have to do all of it at once. You can go out there. I know the first thing that's going to come is a B, so figure out the deposit. Implement the deposit first, and then uncomment that line, and that should work for you. Grow it little at a time, piece by piece. When you finally get it completely working in here, then you can take your other pieces of code that you've written and copy them back. The way that you copy them back is just get your mouse inside here, Control-A selects everything, Control-C copies that, go back over to this thing here, make sure you're in that window, Control-V. Now this is the wrong file, but you'll get the idea. We'll paste it in there. I'll get rid of that because I don't want that. And once you get all of the files that you need in here, if it's a read-only file, it says read-only, there's no need to paste it in. You won't even be able to because it's read-only. But on the ones that you need to, like debit card, you'll have to paste that in. All of these that are not read-only, you'll paste in. And then it's time to go into the run program and in your develop mode. And when you think that's good, go back to submit mode. I probably should show you that this time through, there are 7 tests. So I will test to see if you actually can create a transaction from parameterized constructors. I will check your dynamic array to see if you can construct one. I will check your dynamic array to see if it grows properly. I'll check the destruction of your dynamic array to see if you leaked any transactions. I'll give you 20 points for that one. That's a good one. I'll check your debit card to make sure the deposit works. I'm going through trying to do more than just saying, hey, does the output look right? Actually, by the time you get to test number 7, if tests 1 through 6 worked, test 7 should work as well. Everything should pretty much work, except this, you do have to write that. I think it's like display activity. There's a print function that you have to write. That might be off a little bit and require a little bit of work just to get everything to line up and put the $sign in and all that stuff just right. But that should be enough. Have good luck with this. As always, with all of these things, do not wait until the last day that it's due before you start. Start the first day you can. Get help at the tutor lab that's on the 7th floor of the computer science building, or get help in my office. If my door's open, I'm here. Please come on in. I'll be happy to help. Have fun and enjoy yourselves.